Hey there, Hofstra fans. Welcome to this week's edition of the W. Mason Coaches Report right here on GoHofstra.com. I'm Mike Sullivan, joined by head coach of the Hofstra Pride Wrestling team, Rob Anspach. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing okay. How's it going?
Pretty good, Coach. And looking back on this past week, and another tough one for you. You faced ranked Lehigh on Friday and a couple of dual meets on Sunday. Against Penn and Drexel, you go 0-3. Just what were your thoughts on your team's play this weekend?
I thought Friday night we'll take it one match at a time, and I thought Friday night we were very flat. Just from basically the start to the finish, we didn't go down there to compete very hard. I'll take not credit for it. I'll take the blame for that performance because we just weren't ready. As a team-wise, we weren't ready, and they took it to us. And it was a very winnable match. They are a good program. They're ranked in the country. But when we were looking at the matchups going in, we felt very confident that we could beat Lehigh. And when it came down to it, I think they won 8 matches to 2, and it really wasn't that close. So, they just very flat team performance, and I mean that's really all that you can say about that match.
Now we look at Sunday, Penn and Drexel. Looking at the Drexel match, both in particular, Jamie Franco, Paul Snyder, and Jermaine John both go 2-0 on Sunday. Just starting off with the positives, what did you see from those 3 players?
Well, I think overall, and I'll elaborate on them a little bit more, but overall from the team standpoint, we went down there with a better attitude. And we went out there and we were more aggressive, and I was happy with the performance. Obviously, the wins would have been better. But we went out there, 125 pounds, we stepped on the mat, and we started off really slow. We got taken down a couple times. We fell behind. The kid Rappo we lost to, we were 1-1 with, so we knew it was going to be a close match. Third period comes in, and we scored 2 takedowns to send it in overtime. I thought we had all the momentum going forward at that point in time. That's a match that Steve wins 99 out of 100 times, and he didn't continue with what he had done in regulation to send it in overtime. He took a step back. Rappo was able to capitalize, win that match, and that was a match we needed. To win a dual meet, when you're looking at the matchups, that 125-pound match was one we needed. I spoke to a couple other people earlier, and I said, for us to be a good dual meet team, our first 3 guys, they have to win. I mean, that's where our strength is, and those 3 guys have to win. So to go out there and lose that one in overtime, put us behind the 8 ball in that dual meet. Jamie did a nice job going out there, finally getting back on the winning track. And wrestling, he still wrestled the match I wanted him to, but it helped, for him to get his hand raised and feel good about himself moving forward. So he did a nice job getting back to some of the things that we like to see from him, but he still needs to improve on his offense and wrestle a little bit harder. Luke Veit did a nice job following that up. Matt Spataro lost, but wrestled really, really tough in that match. He hit a headlock right at the end of the match that could have won him the match, but we were out of bounds, so we didn't get the back points. It was, just a gutsy performance. He did a nice job. 174 pounds, Jermaine John, I think probably had the best day I've seen him have since his career here at Hofstra. When we look at the kid he wrestled, Ian Korb, we wrestled him twice last year. He beat us pretty handily last year. And for us to come and beat him by, I think it was 6-1, 5-6, 7-1, whatever the score was, just shows that when Jermaine's listening to us and wrestling the way we want him to, he's capable of doing some big things. And I think that match might help his confidence more than any match he had, because you see what hard work can do for you. And you can turn around results where you lose to somebody by 5 or 6 points and then turn around and beat them by 5 or 6 points. It helps out a lot. Then, Paul Snyder did a nice job too. There was a match, again, we were 1-1 with the kid last year, and he was out there and did a nice job and kind of dominated the match. The score wasn't, crazy. I think it was 3-1, 3-2, something like that. But it was a match where he controlled the tempo, he controlled the pace. I would like to see him take a couple more shots, score a couple more points, but that's always what I want when our guys are out there wrestling. So the UPenn match, I like the energy we wrestled with. Couple mistakes that we can work on technically. Which is what you like to see out of those things. I have no problem working on those things. When you compare it to the Lehigh match, we couldn't take anything from that match because we were flat. We didn't wrestle well. There's just not a whole lot to go. We have to get the energy up first, and that's number 1 before we can start worrying about any of the wrestling. And then if you go on to the Drexel match, again, we started off 25-1, 33-1. Jamie did a nice job there, and Steve, although he didn't wrestle to what we typically see Steve doing, got his hand raised, after a tough loss. It's always hard to kind of have that quick turnaround and bounce back, but he was able to do it. 41, though, was a match we needed to have. in Luke, and we just didn't get it done. We made, I think, a key mistake at the end of the match where we wanted him to ride the person a little bit more. He cut him to tie the match up, and got taken down there right at the end of the match to lose it. So it was one where, he felt, and I don't mind it, he felt he had the momentum in his favor. He had just scored the takedown. He felt that he could put the match away before overtime, so he went for it. So when you sit back and you think about it, you're like, okay, I get it, I understand, but we wanted him to take more out of the kid. I don't know if the kid would have got away from him. I had more confidence in Luke's riding ability than I think what he had, or I want to say maybe it wasn't a confidence thing, but he was feeling good on his feet. That's where he decided to go. We wanted him to stay on top, and it just didn't really work out for him. But and again, then Jermaine John following up later with a great performance where he really dominated, took a lot of shots, scored a lot of points. So he wrestled really well.
You've been speaking about the first 3 weight classes in 125, 133, and 141, where you expect to win those each and every match. You need to. You think you're going to win dual meet. You get to that point with 174 and heavyweight with Paul and Jermaine, where you kind of expect them to wrestle well every single dual meet? We do,
yeah. At this point in time, especially with Paul, he's a fifth-year guy. It's time you start wrestling that way. More consistency. Jermaine is a younger guy, so we expect to see a little bit more of inconsistency with him. But if he's going to make that next jump, which the team needs him to do, he has to be wrestling better. And I think we're seeing it more. He's starting to take the lapses out of his wrestling. We talk a lot about wrestling 7 minutes, and in those 7 minutes, there's times you're probably going to have some mental breakdowns, but you need to minimize them. And where he was wrestling a 7-minute match and maybe focus for 5 of them and having 2 minutes of where you're just going, what were you thinking there, what are you doing? I think he shrank that down, and he's now where he's wrestling a 7-minute match, he's focused on 6 minutes, with a 1 minute lapse at different parts, not 1 minute straight, maybe 5 seconds here, 5 seconds here, but it's adding up to a minute. And we still need to constantly shrink that. And if we can keep doing that, he's going to be really good for us. But when you're looking at dual meets, you got 10 weight classes. If you want to win dual meets, you need to win 5 to 6 of them, 6 weight classes. So we have our first 3 guys, and we have 74 and heavyweight winning matches. We need one other guy to kind of get in there to secure wins, but those 5 guys can carry us a long way.
You look at 197 against Penn, you throw Victor Puzny out there, and then Drexel, Tim Murphy comes back. What have you seen from those two, and what are your plans going forward?
Well, we're waiting for one of those guys to step up. And that's why it's kind of been a revolving door at that weight class. We started off with Vic going out there. I wasn't liking what I was seeing from him. I saw him getting frustrated, so I wanted to pull him off a little bit, not to kill his confidence a little bit. Not to kill his confidence, I wanted to just let him relax and focus and get him ready for the next match. And we've been doing the same thing with Tim, that we don't want these guys just getting into this losing pattern where they can't get out of it, and it just snowballs, and all of a sudden, all they think about is not how am I going to win, how am I going to lose this match. And we might be getting at that point right now. And so we're really waiting for one of these guys to kind of say, this is going to be my spot, take ownership in it, and start leading the way, and then we'll go with it. And that's kind of what we're looking for from in the practice room and competition on the mat.
You have some time off now. Obviously, not the start to the season that you want. You have the grapple coming up in a couple weeks with Iowa and Ohio State, 2 teams ranked in the top 5. So what are you doing this time now to not only get ready for that, but kind of regroup and kind of really start anew for this season?
Yeah, I mean, there's no, I believe it, I tell the team all the time, there's no secret to success in this sport. It's hard work, so we're going to work hard. We look at, obviously, not a great start for the season, but when we think about big picture, which is what I'm trying to tell these guys, you can't just think about the individual match. When we're looking big picture, while we can't accomplish all of the goals we set out, we can still accomplish a great deal of them. We can still win a conference title. We can still send 10 guys to the national tournament. We can come home with All-Americans. We can finish top 25 in the country. These have to be our goals, and that has to be our focus moving forward. That we don't sit there and go, oh, well, hey, the season's lost, throw our hands up in the air, and we're in December. Because there still is 4 months. And it can be a long 4 months if we continue going the way we are. Or we can change some things here, get a couple better results, and all of a sudden what turned out as a disastrous beginning prepared us for the end. And that's how we're taking it as a coaching standpoint, that these matches, these grinding matches with Minnesota and Iowa and Ohio State and Central Michigan and Oklahoma, they're preparing us for what we need to be at the end. And that's how you have to look at it. Otherwise, you might as well just put your hands up in the air and start looking to the next season, and I'm not ready to do that.
The Hofstra Pride Wrestling team returns to action December 16th at the Grapple at the Garden with a couple of matchups against Iowa and Ohio State. For head coach Rob Anspach, I'm Mike Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in to the W. Mason Coaches Report.